Hi, I'm Audrielle, and today I have the most interesting program for you. It's all about artificial intelligence. And all the way from Princeton, my guest, Matt Parker, was kind enough to give me an interview. So welcome, Matt. It's so nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
You know, I didn't have enough room to put all your credentials. My goodness, 20 years experience and 30 different titles or
certifications.
Certifications.
Yeah.
So please tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been working in technology for 20 plus years, and I love taking tests. Tests are fun for me, and so I just take certification tests whenever there's a subject that interests me, from security, project management to ChatGPT, and that's been a long-standing thing just to keep myself learning and keep myself growing. So, yeah, and now I work, my day job is IT director at Princeton School for Public and International Affairs, and I also teach a bunch of classes at Princeton's adult school, and ChatGPT and the AI revolution is one of those classes.
So you're the perfect person for this interview.
I don't know about perfect, but I'll be good.
That's good enough. So we're going to do a little Q&A.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right, that's how I can do this, because I don't know that much about artificial intelligence.
Probably more than you.
So, my first question is, what is AI?
Well, AI is the overarching idea of creating a computer that can think like a human. All right? We want computers to be able to think like humans, because then we don't have to do so much thinking. But there are basically three categories or three capabilities of AI. Right now we have narrow AI, which is only good at doing certain tasks. All right? Think ChatGPT, think Alexa, think Siri. Right? That is narrow, or what they call weak AI. Then you can move into what's called strong AI or general AI. And general AI is where we've achieved this theoretical goal of, computers can now think as well as humans can. That hasn't happened. That's probably a ways out yet. And then beyond that, there's a theoretical super AI, and super AI is when the computers can think better than we can and can do tasks better than humans. When you look at AI, there's a lot that goes into AI. Those are the kind of three theoretical capability buckets, if you will.
Well, I might repeat some of my questions.
Sure.
Because you've covered almost a lot of them that I was going to ask. But the first one is, you mentioned GPT.
Yes.
Am I supposed to know what that is? Because I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, everyone kind of asks about what's the GPT stand for. In ChatGPT, GPT is Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and this is kind of the magic that creates content when you use ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or Microsoft's Copilot, and the transformer basically encodes what you're saying and decodes out a response. Keeping it simple there's a lot of moving parts, but the transformer is kind of the magic piece that's creating this latest form of generative AI.
So how does AI learn and improve over time?
Well, I mean, AI can't learn in the same way we can. What we've done, and what people have done with AI is they have basically got a lot of information from the internet. So they went out on the internet, and OpenAI has created the biggest, they call them LLMs, large language models. They've created the biggest LLM from scraping data from the public internet. So they sent programs out on the internet. They said, if this is available information, we want you to grab a copy and bring it back to us, kind of thing. And then they took millions of dollars and lots of computers, and they said, we're going to pre-train you on this data. And then after they did that, they had a bunch of humans try and ask the large language model questions, and they said, I like this answer, but I don't like this one, and they would reward the good answers. right? And so after they went through several iterations of that, ChatGPT kind of came into being, and that's how we're able to kind of ask it questions and get information back from it that's somewhat useful. But it doesn't learn. It's really just humans saying, we like this answer better this. So it finds patterns in the data.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So what are some real-life applications? I watched a show because I am a cruiser,
Hey.
and when I first met you over the phone, I was on a cruise.
All right.
So I was talking to you.
Yeah.
But there's this enormous new cruise that came out. It's a Royal Caribbean, and I think it's called the Iconic of the Seas.
Right. Yeah.
But they use AI to know how much food to order for their 10,000 passengers. 10,000. They know different menus. They know the ingredients for a recipe. Is this all AI?
It's definitely forms of AI. I mean, we've all been using AI for decades. AI has been around us. It's not most of the AI that we've dealt with, whether it's your Amazon suggestions, right? Anytime you buy something on Amazon, Amazon puts the data into a model and says, oh, people who bought this probably bought this as well. And so let's suggest that she buy this. If you listen to Spotify, you say, I like this song, and Spotify says, oh, we're going to find other songs that you like and feed you those. That's a form of AI. It's not the latest form. ChatGPT is called generative AI in that it's creating new content, but it's a form of AI in these recommendation systems because they're using large language models and they're finding patterns in the data. But AI is all around us. Real world applications, facial recognition, Siri, right? The recommendation systems in Prime, if you have Amazon Prime, Netflix, they all use AI in order to better serve you. Your bank uses AI because if there's a transaction that doesn't look like you, right, doesn't seem like something you would do, they flag it and they say, let's take a look at this. And sometimes they don't even have a human check it. They'll just say, just cut off the card, right? And so we've all interacted with AI. We've all had experiences with AI, whether we know it for sure or not.
Right.
It's everywhere around us.
Right.
Yeah.
So I ordered something from Amazon, and now all of a sudden I get 12 boxes.
Yep.
And they appear.
Yep.
Now I have to identify a bicycle, and I have to check it. But at the end of that, it says, am I a robot?
Yeah.
So I always check, no, I'm not a robot, but I'm so tempted one time to say I am a robot. What is that about? Is that security? What is that?
Right. So the CAPTCHA, as that's called, the CAPTCHA is to make sure that you're not a computer program. And that's really because people like myself and other programmers can say, I want to have this buy 50 of these, right? So that I don't have to go through the process. And Amazon says, no, we don't want you doing that, right? We don't want programs buying stuff, either fraudulently or intentionally. And so they do a CAPTCHA to make you, prove that you're sitting in front of your computer and it's not some program on your computer. Because if a program could buy something without a CAPTCHA, then I could load it on your computer and make your computer buy stuff that would be charged to you, right? And so the CAPTCHA makes sure that you're aware that it's not just a computer program buying this.
I see.
Yeah.
So how can AI be creative and with new ideas? Is it human beings that are entering those ideas, or is AI coming up with it on its own?
Really, AI isn't coming up with anything new on its own. It doesn't.
Really?
It doesn't have any.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's not a mind. AI does not work the same way our brains work. AI is trained to recognize patterns. It's trained on large amounts of data, and then humans say, this is the answer that we're looking for, this is a better answer than this one, and so the humans are involved in the training process from the beginning. And in order for AI to get creative or to take on new information or create new ideas, it needs human interaction. Now, some people will look at it and they'll have conversations with ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or any of the, generative AI tools, and they'll say, no, it comes up with these things that I've never heard before. Well, if you've ever talked to a new person, then you know that they've come up with things that you've never heard before. And so when you talk to AI, it's like AI has talked to everyone in the world, and so they're just regurgitating ideas that everyone in the world has curated. And so they're not coming up with new ideas. AI can definitely spot correlations that humans haven't noticed before, but they're not creating new ideas. That's a very human thing still. So.
Talking about humans, how does it recognize human speech? How does that,
Yeah.
because we have so many languages.
Oh, yeah.
We have sign language. How does it recognize that?
Yeah, well, that's a complicated question, but basically,
I stumped him. This is a good one.
Be like, we need a whiteboard. No. So NLP, natural language processing, is the form of artificial intelligence that takes human speech and translates it into a language that the computer can then understand. And so to keep it, without too much jargon in there, essentially you give it text or you speak to it and it converts your voice to text, and then it segments the data into sentences, breaks it into sentences, and then it breaks it into what are called tokens. And each token is essentially a word. Some words are 2 tokens, some words are just 1 token, but it breaks it into tokens and then it feeds it into the computer. The computer assigns sentiment to each word and breaks the words to the base word. So if it's running, it breaks it down to run, right? And it's able to do all that processing in an instant and get a meaning from it, and then interpret that meaning and push it back out through natural language processing to give you a response that makes sense, all right? So it comes down to programming again, and recognizing patterns and breaking down the language. So, yeah.
So, are there ethical considerations surrounding AI and its development?
Yes, there are so many.
There are so many things that can be affected by this. So can you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, the ethical considerations around AI are too numerous for me to list. You may recall in the news, Elon Musk and thousands of others wrote a letter and said we should pause AI development. That didn't happen, and that didn't happen for a number of reasons, probably most notably that we couldn't enforce some sort of global pause and everybody be concerned that one country would get ahead of the other. And make no mistake, we're in a race with other countries to be the leader in AI. You want to be the leader in AI just like you want to be the leader in any industry. But the ethical considerations that you have to think about with AI, of course, bias, because AI is trained on human-generated data, right? Where did it get all that data to give you answers on which show you might like? Well, got it from the internet. Where did it get the idea that it could write a poem? From the internet. And all of the content on the internet is created by humans, and so has some bias. And so that bias seeps into AI. Now, they have tried to use humans to, kind of deal with that bias and say this is bias and change the answer to this way, and but it's going to be in there. It's humans' data, it's humans checking it. So you have bias, you have privacy concerns because AI can predict things that seem like it knows you too well. You have security concerns because AI is able to spot patterns that may indicate a flaw in software or a flaw in your security. You have concerns because AI doesn't have feelings and could do things that are very scary.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Does AI have emotions or feelings?
No.
It does not?
No, it does not.
It does not?
No. I mean...
So the bias that could be created is really coming from humans?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I mean... So some people will say that they feel like ChatGPT or other generative AI tools have feelings or have emotions, and that's because it's able to mimic that language and convince people. 60 Minutes did this whole segment on how some people are falling in love with AI bots, right? Because the AI bot is able to, take a sentence and then respond in a way that seems caring or seems, loving, and that's because it's mimicking human responses. But at the heart of it, you're just talking to a computer. You're talking to thousands of computers and a large amount of text data, and it doesn't have feelings.
Doesn't it?
No. Nope.
I'm disappointed.
Aw.
But there you go.
I would hate to see it on a mad day.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Wakes up a little grumpy.
Who knows? But now tell me about the healthcare industry. How has it really achieved significance in the growth of the healthcare and taking care of us, in surgeons?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of AI is used in helping doctors diagnose things, right? So doctors, again, anytime you have a large amount of data and you're trying to find patterns in that data, it could be scans. It could be scans of your lungs. It could be scans of, looking for cancer. And AI is going to help doctors find patterns in that to spot things that they can't see. And actually, that's a huge strength of AI in that so there's a chart that I reference in one of my classes that shows human abilities versus AI abilities. And about, I think 2016 or so, computers got better at recognizing things in pictures than the average human. And that's because computers are looking at pictures on a pixel by pixel level. And so they can see things that we're not registering, right? And same with medical scans. The AI can see things that humans may miss and find patterns that humans may miss. Also, AI is being used in drug development, finding new drugs, new pathways to explore, and really expanding the scope and the speed at which pharmaceutical companies and others can develop new therapies. So
that was one of my questions, speed. How is it able to process things so quickly?
I mean, it's really, there's a lot of computers. I'll say the short answer is it's a lot of computers. So OpenAI came out and said it costs them about $700,000 per day to run ChatGPT. That is a lot of computing power. And that computing power is used to basically search through a pre-trained data set or pre-trained model and find answers or generate new answers, right? And so the computing is doing that after it's been developed by humans and by computers, and it's been in the process for years. So yeah, there's a lot of processing power that goes into it. I mean, $700,000 per day just to run ChatGPT, which is one platform.
Only one platform?
Yeah, that's OpenAI.
Thousands.
Yes. Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of platforms.
Yeah.
So now my next question is going to be the potential and risks with AI.
Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit in the beginning of our conversation, but I'd like you to really tell me about that, the potential risks. Because as a senior, it's all very new to me, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers, that what are the risks? We see these things going on. I'm going to give you a quick thing. I did an interview 6 years ago with a young woman called Brittany DeSilva, and it was a nutrition. And we, KLVW, showed it again before I went on my cruise. So I was watching myself on TV. And I say, gee, I wonder what she's doing now. I shut the TV, I went to my phone, and Brittany's name came up with her picture, and now I'm on Facebook with her constantly. So as a senior, that sort of disturbs me because she's a lovely girl, but this can be happening in the wrong way as well.
Of course, yeah.
So now tell me, what are the other risks? And are they being regulated?
so many risks.
So many risks.
We
And
could
I'm
talk.
only on my second page of notes, folks.
You're like, we could start a list and we could list them out, and it would just get scarier and scarier. But I think the risk that's coming most quickly and is most clear in, I think, my mind, is the risk that we can't trust information we see anymore. There was actually an article where in a local election, somebody took the president's voice and made a commercial out of it.
I know.
And it wasn't obviously him talking, but with as little as like 3 seconds of somebody's voice, you can make that person's voice say whatever you want now. Mm-hmm. There was another article where a guy transferred $25 million in Hong Kong because he had a video conference with a being that he thought was his boss. And it turned out to be a deep fake. It turned out to be, fake video, fake audio. And so real world decisions are being made because people are trusting this technology. And it's not that they're being fooled. It's really difficult to know what's real and what's not. And so I think that that's kind of the most pressing issue. There's, of course, military application. AI and robots is scary. AI to gather information and basically, nobody has privacy then, because anything that somebody wants to know about you, they just ask AI, and it's like happy to find social media information, Facebook information, any websites, any videos that you've been in. So the ability has kind of shrunken. The skills needed to find this information have gotten very minimal, and so that's scary. But
so are any committees being formed to regulate this? Is anything happening now?
Yes, the government has set up, groups.
By AI.
Yes, they consulted AI and they said we should have a governance model. So yes, the U.S. government and the global community has kind of created task force and groups to kind of start to think about governance. Corporations have set out their own guidelines. Google has 7 things that they have said: we will not develop AI in any of these areas because we think it's wrong. And OpenAI has their own kind of ethical code as well. So people are doing it. I think that there's definitely a challenge because everyone who's going to regulate this has to understand it. And it is difficult to understand. It really is, because there's so much to it. And there's so many layers to it that actually saying this is a good law versus this law over here is going to require a lot of discernment. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's the global picture where some countries will have laws that we would never do in the United States, or vice versa.
Yes.
And does that give them an advantage? Does that give us an advantage? So there's a balancing game that goes on. That's constant. Mm-hmm. But AI is going to change so fast that the legal system will have trouble keeping up.
Keeping up with it.
Of course, yeah. Mm-hmm. Although the Biden ad that did go out, they made a law against that very quickly. So when they want to, they can certainly do that.
Right.
But generally speaking, the government has been slow to make laws around internet and technology in general, and AI is more complicated than that. Mm-hmm. Right.
It should be a priority, however.
Yeah.
It really should.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get into the job sector.
Sure.
Are we losing our jobs? I mean, what about these poor people that were putting cream into cookies and all kinds of things like that? Are our jobs just dwindling, and we're going to be a computer age that we don't even need a human there other than pressing a button and saying, go to work for 3 months?
I mean, I think that's kind of a misconception of AI. AI is, the target of AI is really to augment and to make people more productive and to remove the tasks from people's lives that are dull, dangerous, dirty, or difficult, right? And so, really AI is there to enable people. Are jobs going to be lost? Of course. Are jobs going to evolve? Yes, right? And I think that evolve is the more accurate kind of picture. People's jobs are constantly evolving. The pandemic, right?
Right.
We all learned to do video conferencing in a day because we had to. And what did that change? That changed every sales call, every sales trip, anywhere into the future, because they said, hey, we can do this over Zoom. Why would I drive 3 hours to meet you? I can meet with you instantly, right? So that evolution happened out of necessity, and technology does this constantly throughout the workforce, where technology is kind of saying, we're going to force you to evolve because there's no reason for you to be wasting time on this task, and AI is going to make that faster. What I will say is that all employees need to, all workers should probably start to embrace AI, just like people should have embraced computers and the internet, because it's really going to separate people's skill sets. The people who are good with AI are going to appear like super workers, and the people who are ignoring AI are going to appear not as valuable. Well, you still need a human for most things. Right. You do. I mean, most jobs these days, you still need a human, and I don't see that changing right away, unless you're a customer service rep or some job that probably could have gone to a computer 10 years ago, too.
Right, right. Now I'm going to touch on education. You know that the kids now can stay home. They don't have to go to school. They don't have to have a friend.
Yeah.
They have a computer and they can talk to their friends over the internet. What's happening with education? See, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And now you are an instructor. So how do you feel about this? I mean, how are your students at Princeton questioning you about that?
Yeah, I mean,
we don't need you anymore, Matt Parker.
Yeah, I think that, yes, you definitely still need teachers, and you definitely still need human interaction, and actually more so than ever. Soft skills are going to be more valuable than ever, because people don't want to work with people who are difficult, and they don't have to if there's fewer people in the workforce. But I think as far as kids, right, there's kind of this argument to be made too that, kids have gotten so connected to their devices and the internet that it's terrible, they don't know how to have friends anymore. And then there's this positive side effect, is that they don't get into fights as much, right? Nobody's getting into fights anymore because they're not interacting with each other. And so there's always two sides to the scale. I think that kids are going to benefit greatly from AI in schools. They're going to have a personal tutor. They're going to have somebody, systems that can find out where their deficiencies are and offer assignments that will help them get back on track faster, right? We shouldn't lose students in the numbers anymore because the AI systems or the AI augmented systems.
Their deficiencies.
Yes,
and we'll teach them.
My hope is that it will also augment and keep kids' attention who are bored.
Yes.
Right? It's like the teacher always has to measure and say, well, I can't teach to the smartest and I can't teach to the slowest, and so I have to hit the middle, and computers don't have to make that distinction. AI doesn't have to say, I'm only going to teach this. It can say, what do you want to learn, and keep going down that path. And so we have great potential there, and I'm always optimistic. Obviously, kids are going to not necessarily need to be as good at writing essays as they were in the past, because ChatGPT can do that for them.
Right.
So they'll have to spend more time on the thinking, the critical thinking.
I agree with you on that end of it, but I still feel as a person is developing, whether they are 8 years old, 18 or 28, that you still need social contact.
You do, yeah.
And that worries me.
Yeah.
Because if AI is here, and AI is going to do everything for us and write our papers and entertain us, why do we need a friend?
Well, because friends will introduce novelty. All right, AI can introduce things that maybe you haven't seen before, but friends are going to introduce true novelty, true new ideas, and you're going to have to work together with them to create things that are innovative. The world has gotten infinitely more complex, and so no one is able to just say, I know everything about this subject. You need the different subject matter experts, and with that need for collaboration comes the need for soft skills and being able to work together. And so I totally agree. I think that kids need to have this interaction and need to have time with other kids. I don't think that there's going to be a model that says, hey, you just sit in front of a computer all day and that's your school. That certainly could happen. I don't think that will, but it's we'll see how things develop. But teachers aren't going to give up their jobs that way.
Hope not.
No.
I hope not.
No.
So what is the most common misconception about AI? Being a senior, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And you did cover an awful lot of the positives. But what is a misconception?
I think there is a misconception that AI knows everything and that AI is infallible, right? People looked at, so it used to be that if you had a question about something, that was obscure, you needed to find a friend. And that friend would be like, oh yeah, I know the answer to that. Now everybody just goes to Google. And they trust the answers from Google implicitly. People are going to be trusting the answers from AI implicitly as well, but that's a little bit dangerous. And it's a misconception that AI always gets the right answer. In fact, it oftentimes does what they call hallucinating. And a hallucination with AI is basically when AI lies or makes something up. It's called a hallucination because it's not intentional. It's not meant with malice, right? The AI is not lying to you for some underlying reason. It just is making up information that's not true. And so the idea that AI is infallible and that it always finds the right answer is a huge misconception, because it oftentimes will oftentimes will say things that are wrong or source things from sources that don't exist. And so, people are believing this thing too much.
So that's really the main.
I would say that's one of the primary ones, primary misconceptions. I mean, a lot of people have this misconception that AI can somehow take people's job by itself. And, I think that that's a misconception because AI really can't show up and do a job, right? Pick a job, truck driver, right? Could the AI drive the car? Sure. But could it undo the back of the truck and unload the stuff? Or could it talk to the person who needs to change the flat tire? It's like there's still human decisions that need to be made, and human interaction that needs to happen as part of that job before AI can completely take it over. Now, can it augment it? Yeah. It can say, hey, this is a more efficient route. You should go this way. Hey, there's a lot of traffic this way. You need to turn and get off of this road. And so AI is already helping and already evolving the job.
Right.
So.
I've ended up in somebody's driveway instead of where I wanted to be. It has done that for me.
Yes. See, it's not infallible.
It is not infallible. So now tell me about the advancement with robotics. Because to me, when I hear robotics, I think of only medical.
Right.
But I think there are other applications.
Oh yeah, yeah. So there are. So for me, one of the areas that I think is going to be most transformative for people's lives is the pairing of AI with robotics. There are lots of robotic companies trying to be the first, trying to be that company that gets robots into your home, and we're back to the Jetsons, right?
Yes.
Yes. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants that future, and we're already past that.
We are.
Come on, we didn't get here fast enough. Amazon is trying to start selling their robot Astro, and Astro basically will go and fetch things for you. It will talk to you. It will, nudge you if you need to do something like answer the door or something. It's a little robot that kind of goes around your house like a Roomba, but it has a compartment so it can grab things and carry them for you. So that's one step into robotics.
Yeah, it wasn't UPS using that, or was it FedEx?
Well,
that was starting with the robotics deliveries?
There's been various, so like Domino's was also doing autonomous vehicle deliveries. And so, yeah, there's been various kind of, experiments, we'll say. But robotics is evolving so fast that, I think we're getting to the point where we'll have robots that can actually help and be helpers like the Jetsons within maybe 10 years, we'll see. But, there are definitely countries that need it now for elder care and for all sorts of other useful cases. The scary cases, of course, are military use, right? And but there's also the nice cases where they have robotic devices that will find people who are trapped in buildings that collapse, right? So there's all sorts of useful cases. Humans are the ones that have to decide, we're going to use this for good or we're going to use this for evil. And thankfully, most people are landing on the good side and saying, we're going to use this for good. But yeah, I don't want to be in a fight with like a robotic dog or person or anything.
Right, for sure.
It's scary.
Okay. I want to touch a little bit on scams.
Sure.
And you did touch
Sure.
on it with President Biden's voice being initiated by AI. So tell me about scams, especially for seniors.
Yeah.
I mean, my sister got a call from her grandson.
Yep.
And she believed it.
Yep.
And she believed it. Thankfully, she called me, and I said, I think you better call Ben and make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah, no, and that is the most common scam, and that was one that I was going to mention, and they call those deepfakes. Deepfakes are essentially AI, computer-generated audio, video presences that try and, imitate someone else. And so what a lot of families are doing is they're setting a safe word that basically, if somebody calls saying, I'm in trouble, then they have to know the safe word, right? They have to know that the safe word is pineapple, and so okay, well, if you're really in trouble, what's the word? And if the AI doesn't know it, obviously it's fake. Right. But there's going to be a lot of evolution in this where it's going to be difficult to tell. It's going to be very difficult to say, is this real or is this not real? And even present day, hackers and people with malicious intent can go to ChatGPT or Gemini and say, write me an email that sounds convincing, and they don't have to know the language, right? You can say, write it in English or write it in Spanish, and then just copy and send that to you. And so we've seen improvement in phishing emails to where it's so realistic that it's hard to tell the difference, even for people who are skeptical of every email. So scams have definitely been helped in some ways by AI, but AI is also being used to filter spam messages and to look for phishing messages and react faster to them, because when you're talking globally or even at a company, millions of messages a day or a month or a week come in, and so humans can't parse through them all. It's too much.
It's too much, but AI can do that.
Yeah.
But that saddens me, that I have to tell my grandchildren to give me a safe word. That really does sadden me, and there's just no other way to protect yourself. What other scams have been going on that we should know about?
Yeah, I mean, the deepfake scams where somebody calls and they pretend to be, a loved one and say they're in trouble is the most common. There have been other scams where, they'll call and they'll say you owe taxes, right? And,
or your light bill.
Yeah.
Or they're going to shut off the light unless you give me this information.
Exactly. And so our defense so far has been to just say, this isn't how these companies work. This isn't what they would do. And so therefore it's fake. But it's getting to the point where, AI can kind of help make these more realistic and can help gather information that maybe you don't think is public about you, and use that. So for instance, people have a lot of Facebook activity or a lot of Instagram activity. I'm not picking on any particular social media platform, but if you have public activity there, AI can say, all right, I see this person loves their dog. I see that their birthday is this day. I see that they like to go to Chili's, right? And it can use that that information to create a scam tailored to you, right? Be like, hey, here, we want to, we saw you at Chili's with your dog Fluffy on your birthday, and, we saw that somebody was stealing your car, right? And it could be completely fake, but it's being tailored to you. Mm-hmm. And so AI is enabling kind of this new realm of possibilities. And
it doesn't forget.
Well, I mean, AI doesn't have a memory to forget. so it doesn't have a mind. It's not going to forget. Yeah.
It's hard for me to wrap myself around that. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So tell me about cybersecurity and AI.
Oh. Yeah.
Another topic.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, cybersecurity is helped a lot by AI because, again, there's so much data flying at computers these days that you need a system to keep track of it, or to look for anomalies, or to parse through it and give you some intelligent response. So a lot of fraud detection, a lot of error detection is AI in cybersecurity. Obviously, it helps filtering spam and look for phishing messages. It can help find vulnerabilities in software, find vulnerabilities with your computers. All of these things that are tedious for humans to do and time-consuming for humans to do can be given to AI and essentially, made much more efficient, which is why I'll say again, it's really evolving jobs. Mm-hmm. Most software platforms have been integrating AI into their programs for a while now. Mm-hmm. And so you start to see things happen. So for instance, the Google search with its predictive text, when you start to search for something that says, I think you want to search for this next, right? That's AI. It's just looking for patterns. A lot of software is using predictive things to make it easier for you to find things or to complete your thoughts, right? It's going to keep evolving our capabilities in those areas, and security is no outlier in that. If you think about facial recognition, that's AI, right? Every time you look at your phone and it recognizes your face, it's doing thousands of measurements. And Microsoft has a feature, Windows Hello, which will do the same thing from your computer. So, hopefully we'll get to a point where no more passwords, right?
Just my face.
Just
my
your
thumb
face.
Or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the environment.
Yeah. Okay.
The environment.
Yeah.
We need help with the environment. Can AI predict natural disasters?
Probably not predict them. It could give us more early warning signs. So it can give us more warning, more advanced warning, I'll say.
Earthquakes.
So earthquakes are the outlier. So if you talk about natural disasters, earthquakes are the ones that we really can't predict at all now, right? We can't say there's going to be an earthquake on, next Tuesday.
You would think there's a ratio that AI could.
Well, you would think that AI could find a pattern. So far, as far as I know, no. And there are thousands of earthquakes happening around the world all the time. And so if finding the pattern or being able to predict them hasn't happened yet, I don't know that we have the data yet to actually solve that problem.
Do you see it in the future? You're skeptical.
It's a while. I think it's a ways out at this point, because I don't think that we have sensors that would give us the data we need to predict earthquakes. But I'm certainly not an expert on that. But I think that AI can definitely help with early warnings or advanced warnings for hurricanes, right? Because we already see weather patterns, and we can already see, this might head this way, and AI is just going to make that better. Certainly tornadoes, and when tornadoes will form, we can get more early warning for that, hopefully, and AI will be able to parse through that data faster than we've been able to so far. But there will be some natural disasters that certainly we can't, and some human-made disasters that we would have no way of predicting.
Okay, boy, we really covered an awful lot, haven't we?
Yeah, no, we're running through them all here.
Okay, one more thing I need
Yeah,
to know.
all right.
Just for me.
For you.
Financial analysis.
Okay.
Give me a stock.
Give me a
Can
stock.
AI do that?
Well, so we'll go back to the AI is not infallible, but certainly, it's nice to have a friend who has who has scraped the internet for all the available knowledge from humans, from, blogs from everywhere, and can give you some insight into what the company does and maybe how the stock has performed. It's certainly going to make it easier for you to say, this is a company that I think looks good, or this is a company that's on the rise, and help you make those decisions. I wouldn't ask AI to pick stocks for me, but I mean, certainly people have.
Have.
Yes, people have.
And been
Yeah.
happy and disappointed.
The same, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have kind of come to the realization that stocks, picking one stock is kind of difficult, and you're better off picking either a grouping of stocks or timed funds, and so you get a better return if you spread out your investment, diversify.
Okay.
So, yep.
Matt Parker, thank you so very much for your time.
Good chatting with you.
He was just a wonderful guest, wasn't he? Thank you so very much, Matt. You took your time and came all the way from Princeton to meet with us, and you are so knowledgeable. You've answered so many questions that we have here, and I invite you back at another time. This is Avriel for KLVW. See you next time.